So we were talking about live services the other day and how the market is oversaturated and new ideas seem to be lacking. A lot of the live services that we're seeing pushed out just feel kind of uninspired, chasing trends. Just if
Because that's what they are. That's all they're doing is they're just trying to do the same thing that everybody else did to make money. It's not because it's a better way to serve a video game experience. It's just a better way to make money. That's the only reason.
feels like they're trying to cash in rather than
It's really
kind of
annoying.
use the genre to create something genuinely innovative and something that pushes the genre to a new level and to new heights. It all just feels iterative instead of innovative. And so that's led to a situation where there's just too many live services out there right now. And the majority of the ones that attempt to kind of get a piece of the pie
Yeah.
and tap into this oversaturated market end up shutting down unceremoniously. I talked about how that happened to Exoprimal. I talked about how Multiverses is well on its way towards a mass decline that's going to see potentially.
I think the problem of why live service in these games the way that this comes into play is because a lot of the times people see a popular trend, but they're not able to. So there's a very popular, I guess it's a saying of how do you describe, it's three blind men describing an elephant. And they're describing, oh, it's really big, or it's the trunk or the legs, right? And each person has a totally different view of what the elephant is. I think that that's the problem with live service games, is that it's blind people trying to identify why a live service game is popular and then just trying to re-emulate that and assume it's the same thing. So it was a trunk, yeah, but they're blind, right? And so they don't really understand the reason. So, for example, multiverses, why would anybody want, does the community, do people really want another Smash Brothers? I feel like they don't. This isn't really who asked, who wanted this? But if you see the success of Smash Brothers and you see the success of live service games, if you look at this from an abstract perspective of oh, okay, well, all of these things are the things that are, what do you call it? These are the things that make money and we should do them, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's what the issue is. It's that a lot of these people aren't motivated by trying to create a good product. They're motivated by trying to capitalize on a trend.
It's shut down, especially for a free-to-play game. These numbers are just not enough. Then
No,
we
they're
got
not.
Skull and Bones, which didn't break 1 million players after February 22nd, 2024. I don't know what those numbers look like now,
Yeah.
but I don't imagine this is a game that's performing particularly well. Arcane Austin had to shut down Redfall, and the studio itself was shut down by Xbox. You've got Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, which is well on its way out, and things are bad enough where they're trying to give this game away for free in the hopes that people come back, but you look at the player numbers, it's just...
It's dead. It's a dead game. That's it. It's done. They delayed this game because it was so bad. I mean, come on. It's fucking dead. What do you expect?
Low triple digits, nowhere near enough to sustain this live service. You've got Foam Stars, which crashed pretty quickly and lost 95% of its player base in a short amount of time.
Because the game is just a scuffed version of Splatoon. You're not going to be able to make a shitty version of an existing game. I guess you could say Stumble Guys, right? That's an example of it working well. But and that's the problem, is that somebody will look for the needle in the haystack and say, let's just get another needle. You're not going to do that. That's not the way it works. You're not just going to, randomly, yeah, okay, well, let's just let's recreate this 1 in 1,000 probability of occurring thing.
Its way out
It's
for
insane.
sure. Rocket Arena shut down earlier this year. You've got this shooter from Tencent called Synced, which I'd never even heard about before, but it shut down exactly a year after its launch. So on and so forth. You get the idea. And now it seems as though live services are saying, I've got one more in me, in the
Yeah.
form of Concord, which is the PlayStation-published live service. For those who don't know, PlayStation's trying to delve deep into making a bunch of live services. Too many. At one point, they had 12 that they were planning to release
Jesus
by
Christ.
2026. That number has been reduced to 6, but that's still too many. Among them is Concord, which is basically this hero shooter that is
That's
essentially
McCree.
Overwatch with hints of
It's essentially Overwatch. Yep.
Destiny and Guardians of the Galaxy in terms of its aesthetic. And the game doesn't look awful by any means. It plays fine and, it does the thing, but it doesn't do anything to stand out either. And that's kind of what the general consensus has been. There's one article here from Washington Post that best describes this as this being a game that's a few years too late. Maybe it would have enticed folks if
it would have never been good. It's never would have been good. Nobody would ever want to play this. Look at the characters. These characters are ugly and weird. Like, who the fuck would want to be this guy? This guy looks like me. This is awful. Who the fuck would want to do that? Like, it's just these are bland, boring. Like, what the fuck? Who thought this was a good idea? It's insane.
Would have released before some of the other hero shooters became standard. But now Concord is just coming in late to the party, and it's a game that nobody is really particularly interested in. And that's leading to a result that is less than ideal when you look at player numbers right now. So for those who don't know, Concord had a closed beta not too long ago. And you can see right here, the numbers there are pretty paltry. But you could potentially argue, well, you have to pre-order the game to access the closed beta. And so numbers would be low. But even then...
bullshit. If it was a good game, the people that pre-ordered it and liked it would have said to everybody else, hey, you should try this game out. It's really good. Total bullshit.
Despite this being closed beta, the numbers were so abysmal that you have to wonder how many people actually pre-order this game. But the real test lies in what is now the open beta.
Yeah.
The numbers that we're seeing right here represented are those of the open beta. Keep in mind that Concord is going to be $40 when it launches. And so if the free trial, if you will...
If people won't play it for free, how many people do you think are going to play it if they have to spend money?
...of this game can't draw in an audience...
Yeah.
Can you imagine this game doing any sort of major moves and making, pushing a lot of units and being a financial success when it launches? So the numbers in the open beta look as follows. It peaked at a mere 2,388 players. And we are seeing the beta still run. And in that time, the 24-hour peak sits in the average of roughly like 1,500, 1,600 players. This is a minuscule number of players for a game that is this major AAA live service.
If the game releases and it has any degree of success like this, everybody in this studio is going to be fired and it's going to be shut down. That's just what's going to happen. You can't recover from something like this. This is literally like tens of millions of dollars lost. You can't, like, it's Jover. It is.
Sony is pushing significantly that is free to access right now. I've seen other...
Like, if I was working there, I would start immediately looking for a new job right now. Because, like, there's no way that they're going to be able to recover the game. Because they can't change the way the characters look, because in changing the way the characters look, that's capitulating to people that are considered racist or sexist. So they can't do that. They can't change their image, and even if they do, people will think that they're fake for it. The gameplay is bad. You can't. It's dead. Like I don't think that there is any path to success.
Betas or early access periods where the game is free, and hell, I've seen even some early access periods where they charge money for it, where the numbers have been significantly higher than this, indicating that
is the game DEI heavy. I think the DEI stuff is like. I think that's like the super viral part of it. That people see this and they immediately like have a negative opinion of it. It's like when you see a robot that has pronouns and like the pronouns of every character are on the character select screen. Yeah, absolutely this plays a factor. 100% it does. And I think that people are vastly understating how big of a factor it is because of how fed up people are with that stuff. They are massively fucking fed up with it. It's so fucking annoying. And you can see this all over Twitter, all over social media. It's everywhere. People are totally fed up with this. Like body type 1 and 2, get the fuck out of here. Like, it's so ridiculous. But the truth is that these companies are still doing it. And if they change, they can't change because of the industry. Because the industry pushes everybody to do this. So if they change, that will end up making them the enemy. They're not going to do it. Elden Ring has type 1 and type 2, type A and B. I know, it's stupid there too. It's like bad reviews push people away for it. The game needs like a masterpiece to compensate. Yeah, exactly. Why is it stupid? Who cares? A lot of people do. Enough people for the game not to be successful. I think that if this game was full of really hot anime girls that looked like Widowmaker and Mercy and Diva, I bet there would be more people playing it. I do. I think it's that simple. I think there would be a lot more people playing it.
There's some semblance of excitement, that there is some semblance of hype for the title. But in the case of Concord, I don't know if it's just a case of people not knowing that this game exists, or them knowing that it exists but being so uninterested by it that they decided to skip it. But these numbers are indicative of a game that I think will kind of be dead on arrival.
It's already
and keep
dead.
in mind that Concord is going to have to compete with the likes of Overwatch 2, which despite all the criticism surrounding it, it still gets tons of players that we still get.
And this is on Steam, right? I would assume that Battle.net is probably 10x this, if not more. Of course people are going to be playing Overwatch because Overwatch is a good game.
24-hour peaks in the 50-some thousand players.
And Overwatch plays better than Concord does. Like, just watching Overwatch, it plays 1,000 times better than Concord. It was a good game. What I mean is that, like, you can think that the balancing for the game is bad, but the nuts and bolts of the game, of, like, how your character interacts with things, the balance is dog shit. Maybe the game modes are dog shit. But the actual gameplay, the way that, like, Reaper, like, fucking die, and it kills everybody around him, that plays really well. You get the chain with Roadhog, that plays really well. That's what matters.
This is just Steam, by the way. We probably are seeing much greater numbers if we
Concord
combine Steam
that.
numbers with the Battle.net numbers. Destiny 2 is still seeing, 80,000 players every day, 70, 80,000 roughly.
Somehow Destiny is still growing.
Somebody even highlighted the rather sad fact that Valve's unannounced game Deadlock has more players than Concord. I've never even heard about Deadlock until I looked into this
swap
news.
Names.
And yeah, looking at the numbers here, it has a higher all-time peak number than frickin' Concord, which is a game that is a couple weeks away. It comes out later in August, and the numbers here for an open beta, this is a really bad sign, ladies and gentlemen. Like,
It's over. It's over. Like, the people that work at this company, like, again, get the life rafts out right now. Start looking for another job. Put in your applications. Take this off of your resume as soon as you can and pretend like it never happened.
Service.
Nobody wants to play ugly characters? Yeah, exactly. It's not like, it's not even a question. Like, I'm amazed. Like, it's just, I'm actually really glad this happened because it proves, again, I'm being validated. I'm being vindicated. Like, okay, great. Now I'm right. There it is.
Saying itself with these kinds of numbers. And if the free access period is getting such low numbers, I don't know if the final release will see numbers that will be able to sustain Concord and not have it.
I know if it will. It won't.
Suffer the same fate as the likes of Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, or Marvel's Avengers, you name it. And keep in mind that even if Concord gets 10 times the players at launch, it's still going to be in a dangerous all-time peak range where it might peter out and die off. Like, even if
let's put it into perspective. I'm going to bring out a game and nobody's going to want to see this. Oh my God. It's actually not even on the search terms. It's all the way down here. New World is higher than Concord. Twice as many players. And that's, guys, keep in mind, that's twice as many players for a 24-hour peak. Concord, that's their all-time peak. All-time peak of 2,000. And again, having 2,000 concurrent players for a small game is really respectable in a lot of cases. But Concord is a massive marketed game that PlayStation put as a flagship product for their trade show. That is insane.
Multiply this all-time peak by 10, it's not as high as Marvel's Avengers all-time peak of 31,165 players. And Marvel's Avengers is a game that eventually petered out and died off. So if
160
Concord can't
people.
even break past Marvel's Avengers numbers, even if if it gets 10 times the players at launch, which again costs $40 compared to this free-to-access open beta, then I don't know that Concord can survive in the long term. I'm even wondering if it can reach the all-time peaks of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which peaked at a rather abysmal 13,000.
I think it will probably peak at like maybe 20,000 people playing it at the beginning. That's what I would kind of assume. But in a general sense, yeah, no, this game's done. It's cooked. It sucks because even PlayStation's monthly pass is releasing garbage as well. Yeah, I know.
459 players, and its kind of average player base was not particularly high throughout its
7K.
lifespan, which is just not great numbers for a high-budget AAA game.
Yeah, they're done.
I don't know that Concord is quite as high budget as Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
It's probably not.
But it is a game that the folks at Sony and PlayStation and the studio that's working on it will have to maintain consistently. It is going to be an investment that doesn't feel like it's going to pay itself back. And the issue lies in the fact that Concord is just kind of generic. It's not that it's all bad. Again, like it's not an awful game. And there are some good attributes to it. I think visually, in terms of fidelity, there's they got some good.
It's in a world of Unreal Engine 5, the visuals in this game are not impressive in any capacity. They're just not. Like, it's like, it has decent graphics, sure. But, like, who cares?
Stuff going on in terms of the graphics and some of the art style elements going on here. And the individual heroes, a lot of them do have some unique play styles and powers, and the gameplay is solid. And it's not a game that feels bad to play or anything. You can have some fun with it. It's just there are games of this genre out there that are more established, that are better, that have a better player base, that are more fleshed out, that have been at it for longer and are more feature.
I think that's another big reason is that, like, why would somebody stop playing Overwatch to play this instead? I could see why somebody might want to try this game out in a vacuum, but why would you choose to, like, for example, if somebody's selling the identical type of hot dog and one of them is $1 and the other one is $2, everybody is going to be buying the $1 hot dogs, assuming all other things are equal. So if you are if the only purpose you serve is to be an inferior alternative to your competition, that's a pretty bad value proposition. It is. That's really bad. Concord equals Overwatch 0.2. Yeah.
Complete. Concord, especially for its $40 asking price, just doesn't feel like it's doing enough to stand out from the pack or for it to justify.
Like, look at these characters. This is so boring. This is garbage. What the fuck is this? This is trash. Like, compare this to Lucio, Bastion, Soldier 76, Winston, and, I don't know, like Pharah or Widowmaker. It's not even, like, in the same universe. Like, it's just garbage.
Its $40 price point when Overwatch 2 is free to play.
Yeah, that's another good point,
for Concord to charge that premium price point of $40, it really has to go above and beyond to be able to compete with all the free to play stuff that's out there. And
watch the new Overwatch 2 hero. I'll look at it after this.
I think that's a big mistake for them to not go free to play with this, to charge $40 if what they have on offer is kind of what's being presented right now, which is not a whole lot compared to what other games of this genre are doing. Now, we don't know what the PlayStation numbers look like. This game is coming out on both PC.
Somebody says, do I only do hyperbole now? Let's see. What about this is a hyperbole? No, do it. It's fine. Right. Here's the thing. They are awful. And if they weren't awful, people would be playing the game. That's the truth. And there's nothing that's gonna like. It doesn't matter like what, little things that you roaches out when they get pulled up. Yeah, because it's full of shit. It's just talking shit, being annoying. Yeah, 100% chat. Yeah, it's so annoying, bro. Like, deserved. Yeah, it's like talking shit and then not even explaining it, bro. Like, you don't even have anything to say. You're just talking shit.
And PlayStation, and by some miracle, it may very well be that the level of engagement of this game on PlayStation is significantly higher. But what I usually discover...
Why would that happen?
...is that if a game is performing well on one platform, it'll perform well on the other platform as well. If people want to...
What a surprise. A sample size is indicative of performance. What a fucking miracle. Absolutely, that's true. He's completely right. The only people that are saying that's not true are people on Copium.
Certain game, they will play it across both platforms. You've got both audiences who will tune in and engage with the game. If you ask me, the fact that Concord is seeing such abysmal numbers during its open beta indicates to me that even on PlayStation, it's, maybe has higher numbers, but...
And here's another thing, is that there's another big factor that needs to be taken into consideration, which is video game entropy. And that is when a game is perceived to be dead, it dies. And then when a game begins to die, that begets a faster death cycle. Because now it's a dying game. So people don't want to invest time into the game anymore. So now people are leaving even faster than if the game were to just carry out its natural life cycle. Like, it's the death spiral, right? And as soon as it starts spiraling, it just gets faster and faster and faster. And you saw that with New World, too. That exact... New World entropy as well, right? This is what happens. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So because people are talking about the game being dead, it kills the game. Because nobody wants to play a game that has a reputation for being dead. You reckon if it was free for, like, Overwatch, it would be considered a great game? No, absolutely not. Because if it was such a great game, then you'd see people playing it whenever it was free right now, which they're not.
Not by a whole lot, not enough to make a difference in terms of its future prospects as a long-term, as a viable live service that can attract enough players and have them spend enough money for this to be a worthwhile venture. So this, I would not be shocked if Concord was dead on arrival. I would not be shocked if its initial player numbers indicated a live service that Sony and PlayStation will not want to support for more than a year, maybe two tops if it gets lucky. But who knows? We have seen plenty of comebacks and plot twists happen in the past, and by some miracle, they can make that happen.
I don't think that they can do it because a lot of their image problem has to do with the way the characters are designed, and in changing the characters to the way that people want them to be designed, it would be betraying the ideals that are held very sacred in the gaming industry, with like not objectifying women, not having overrepresentation of like any, like it's like no white guys in the game in the trailer. Like, this is obviously weird. And it's like, guess what? A lot of guys that play these games are probably white guys. Let's be fucking honest. So they're not going to do that. They're not going to add that, because in doing that, they would be effectively giving credit to a group of people that are considered awful. Not white people, but the people that try to promote it and the people that try to push that kind of stuff and like, sexualization of women and all of that. Even though that's the reason why Overwatch is popular. The reason why I bet Overwatch porn is more popular than the game is now. But the truth is that everybody knows those characters, and you have girls cosplaying these characters. Nobody's going to want to cosplay something in Concord. It's insane. It's not even a question. So, and women like ass and titties? Yeah, exactly. And so, like, they literally can't solve the problem that is going to make a lot of people go into the game and immediately distrust its authenticity. That's really what's going to happen.
With this game, great. But, as I said before, the oversaturation of this market is becoming harder and harder to deal with. The more you go in making a live service game with the mindset of like cashing in on a certain genre and a certain trend.
You'll say the problem doesn't have anything to do with representation. I think it does, actually. I think it absolutely does, because like Overwatch did a really great job of adding in a character that everybody can see themselves in. Like, if you're an older 38-year-old guy and you like craft beer, Torbjorn is you. If you are a, like a teenage girl, Diva. If you're a hoe, Widowmaker. If you're just like a hot girl, Mercy. If you're a edgy boy, you're playing Reaper. If you like katanas and fucking swords and stuff like that and dragons, Genji, right? If you're like, you like being Legolas or an archer standing back, then you're Hanzo. Like, there are so many different like archetypes that exist in Overwatch that are very, very well crafted. They're extremely well crafted. And I think that people can see themselves in the characters. Now, people might see themselves in the characters in Concord, but in a bad way, and be like, wow, she's fat just like I am. Oh, God. Oh, he's ugly just like me. Ugh. Why would anybody want to play that? It's that simple. A black man, I play Diva. Does that mean I'm actually a teenage girl? No, if that's what you're getting out of what I'm saying, then I really feel bad for you. But yes, absolutely having characters in a character shooter that people can see themselves in and identify as matter. Absolutely.
Less likely it is that you'll succeed.
So.
Like, only a few of those kind of break through. There are only so many gamers in the world. They only have so much time and money. We keep shoving in live services into the market and hoping that all of them will garner the kind of audience that Destiny, Fortnite,
somebody said
Apex
in chat,
Legends, what
Concord has 0 on Rule 34 and Overwatch has 1,000, 130,000 plus. Numbers don't lie. And that's what matters.
Whatever Overwatch does, that's just not a viable strategy. The expectation of infinite growth is absolute.
Yeah, it is. Somebody says, you think the game failed because of the art design of the characters? Really? I think it was a big factor. I do. Yeah. It wasn't the only reason, but it was a big factor. Absolutely.
Ridiculous and short-sighted. And the fact that even with this trend of so many live services dying off and being a huge waste of time and resources, despite all that, seeing Sony confirm, initially planning 12 live services by the end of March 2026 and saying that we'll just cut that down to 6 still being a lot.
Yeah.
The fact that they're planning 6 live services from one company within the span of 2 years, like, good luck on the money you're about to throw away. Maybe one of those will pop off, and maybe that's what they're riding on.
Yeah, and you're going to make all the money back with that.
Pops off at the level that something like Fortnite does, then it'll pay itself back 1,000-fold. So maybe that's what they're betting on, that eventually they'll hit the bullseye after investing too much money on too many live services. Maybe one of them will become the next Fortnite, the next Destiny, whatever, and pay dividends and make them a ton of money over the long term. But that's a risky proposition, and there's going to be a lot of wasted potential and a lot of likely layoffs as the devs get blamed for the failures of leadership and their mandates.
Oh, yeah, they're done. Like, I think this is, like, with a game that's this big, to have this big of a failure, this is a studio closure level failure. This is a you can't do this wrong 2 times in a row level failure. It's done.
For the kinds of games that they want to ship instead of letting the developers cook.
That's the sad part. You could say it's sad, but they're the ones that made the game. I mean, you shouldn't have done it. This is what happens.
What they should be cooking. But I suppose only time will tell how Concord will play out. At the end of the day, we don't know for sure. My prediction is, though, that Concord will not last very long at all. Like, I've seen this trend before. I've covered enough live services to know that unless there's a major miracle or crazy comeback that happens, which is the exception, not the rule, Concord, I think, is just, it's doomed to repeat history.
It's done.
Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Concord. Have you played the game, the beta? What do you think of it? And do you think it has the potential for long-term viability? Share your thoughts in the comments below. No. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.
I think that
Welcome back. Yeah.
I think there is no way they
So
can
we were
recover.
talking about live
There
service.
is no path to success for this game. It's not going to happen. Like, I'm sorry. I'll link you guys the video. This is, I think that he's totally right. I feel like a lot of people are talking around the reasons why people don't like it. Like, for example, like the pronouns thing, etc., because it's not something that you're supposed to talk about or you're supposed to lend any credibility to. But I think that it plays a tremendous role. Like a massive, huge, gigantic role. Especially now whenever you're looking at, because a lot of the people that are seeing the game right now are people that are part of the online space. Like, sure, Concord and Sony will do marketing that will appeal to people that are outside of the gamer space when the game finally comes out, and those people won't have the previous messaging that shades their perspective of the game. However, until then, you're going to have mainly the way that people figure out this game and figure out about this game are people that are online talking about it. People should give them the what's this here? The moment they see it, they even need to mention pronouns in the game. I just fucking had it. Well, this is my perspective, is that when I see that in a video game, I don't take the I don't take the game as a authentic piece of art seriously anymore. I don't. Like, the immersion for the game is broken to me, because every time I see that, it reminds me of the fact that this game is a manifestation of some worldview that the developers have. It's basically like it's propaganda. It basically is, right? It's a political message. And to me, it's like, as soon as I see that, you don't have that escapism from the game anymore. And I think that, I mean, you could say every game has some sort of a message to it, but sometimes the messages are portrayed in a way that's like less patronizing and less annoying to me. So yeah. Starfield had pronouns, but who cares? The gameplay loop is why it sucked. Well, there's a lot of reasons, right? There's a ton of reasons why it could happen. But I'm just saying, like, that's one reason for me. You're in a bubble if you think the game is failing because of the pronouns thing. The game itself is just not good and it's not worth being $40. I think that at this point in the life cycle of the game, the pronouns, of course it's not failing because of the pronouns. It's failing because of like 10 different things. It's failing because of that, the bad character design, the fact that the game wasn't really very well marketed, the fact that the gameplay is pretty much just worse Overwatch. It's failing because the character, I don't know if it's a character design, but there's that too. It feels slow to play. You know, like for a while you had to buy the game to get into the beta. But like, you are on copium. You are on massive, massive, massive copium if you think that a 2,000 player open beta for a game that was announced at Sony State of Play is anything less than a colossal disappointment and a massive failure. This is the kind of stuff that investors like fucking have nightmares about, and they wake up and like, oh God, I thought I was invested in Concord. Oh fuck, oh God, okay, good. Jesus, okay, it was just a dream. All right, we're fine. Same thing as yesterday, right? Same fucking thing. Check out the new Overwatch hero. Yeah, I'll look at that. But it's a factor, and it definitely is, because right now, the only people that really know about Concord are the people that, like, because Sony hasn't marketed to a wide audience, really. They've only marketed towards, like, people that are invested in video game news on the internet. So you're going to have a higher proportion of those people that care about, like, more in-depth issues into the game than just, like, an average audience. That's why I said before, like, yeah, I'm sure it'll find an audience with people, you know, when it comes out with those larger, like, you know, like just a general audience. But will that general audience stay? 6-year clone of look at Steam charts for Paladins. 6-year old Overwatch clone that has hot girls. Paladins. I mean, yeah. How's that game even doing? Paladins. Yeah, I don't know anything about this game. Yeah, even this game has more players than Concord does. It's nuts, man. Epic, wasn't it? Yeah, even that does. That's 5,000 people. Probably doesn't rely on Wi-Fi's. Pronouns next to the character, that alone makes me not want to play the game. They hate their audience. Yeah, I think that's the way a lot of people see it. And I think that also, like, that won't really be as true as the game reaches a larger and larger audience, because people won't care about it as much. But at this point in the life cycle of the game, then yes, it does matter a lot. Absolutely, it does. It's a big factor.